So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome, as usual, to the Fiat stand. A stand which is a little bit as Fiat itself. It has two sides today, two dimensions. Panda here and 500 there. Functional, aspirational, I would almost say left brain, right brain, logic, and magic. If I look at the screen, I'm not sure what I read first, logic or magic. But it doesn't matter. What really matters is that Fiat reads both, because every Fiat is a blend of magic and logic. So let's start with Fiat Panda. Panda clearly is positioned as the logical side of Fiat. Panda was born 33 years ago, and if you look in its diary, it has never stopped contaminating the Fiat brand with fun, ingenuity, and capability. As a coincidence, the latest version of the Panda happened to be launched here on this very stand, Frankfurt 2011, exactly 2 years ago. So, what happened since, and where are we now? Well, there's a couple of good news here. First, Panda is the best-selling car in Italy, both last year in 2012 and this year as well. Secondly, and probably more importantly, Panda is a leader of the A segment in Europe. And as you can see on the slide behind me, it is even substantially ahead of its competitors. Now the question is, why would Panda be a leader? Think about it. It's not the cheapest. It's not the smallest, it's not the loudest, and it's not even German. But it is a pure Fiat. And being a Fiat, it's not just logical and functional, it's also magical. Magical in the way you handle it in the city, magical in the way it delivers interior space and flexibility, magical in the way it squeezes consumptions and increases agility, and magical in the way it reminds everyone that within the word functional, there is another word embedded, fun. And nothing embodies fun better than the 4x4 version of the Fiat Panda, a real pocket-sized SUV. So look at the video, it's crazily capable, incredibly fun, and the magic continues in the numbers. So the 4x4 version of the Panda represents 50% of the mix in Switzerland and Austria, because of the mountains maybe, but even in the UK, which is not famous for its mountains, the mix is phenomenal. Look at this, 30%. One Panda out of 3 is a 4x4. Now, this year, 4x4 equals 30. 30 years of pioneering the segment, 30 years and 500,000 Panda 4x4 sold. So 30 years that we're calling for a celebration, which is why the Panda 4x4 on display on my right is wearing a kind of a tuxedo. So this special edition is called Antarctica and will be available in winter times, which is, by the way, its perfect season. So the way it looks, black, white, and a touch of orange, was inspired by an icon of a cold climate, a penguin. But trust me, unlike our friend behind me, our Panda has 4 feet, all solid on the ground. From logic here, let's now turn to magic. I mean, 500, 500, the magical face of our brand. So today, we are really surrounded by several variations of 500. It's a growing 500 family. Incredibly vital, because look at how many newborns in less than a year. So first, the 500 GQ, a pure gentleman's car, a style hunter. Then, more importantly, even the 500 electric. So in California, that car is launching as we speak. And the level of excitement is phenomenal. It has already generated 25,000 hand raisers and collected 4,000 orders. Then another 500, the sexy, stylish, sporty, and seductive 500S. An S that, by the way, also stands for sales. And that's even more important. We already shared that the 500 has increased market share in Europe this year, but what we might not have mentioned is that the catalyst of this growth has been this car, now the 500S. As a matter of fact, it already represents more than 15% of the mix, most of which is purely incremental, thanks to its appeal to a new, younger, and more masculine customer group. But there were still new areas for 500 to explore. And this brings me to the latest members of the family. One is more focused on the young adults, that's the 500L trekking, and the other is more family-oriented. I'm speaking about the 500L living. So let's start with the wild side of 500L, the trekking version. So the trekking version puts together all the functionality of a 500L and the capability of a crossover. Special protection to ensure safety in all conditions, both in the city traffic and off-road. A 10% better ground clearance to handle rough roads and manage obstacles. Mud and snow tires for better grip in any condition. And, of course, Traction Plus, which, as you all know, is our front-wheel drive system that transfers the torque from the wheel which loses grip to the other one. Now, beside the 500L trekking, the yellow car here on my left, there is another new version I'd like to introduce to you. It's the biggest 500 so far, and this is great news for the families. We call it 500L Living. It's a car that makes no compromise when it comes to delivering both interior roominess and exterior compactness. The interior space to exterior dimensions ratio is just the best of all mid-sized minivans. Concretely, our 500L Living measures just 4 meters 35, classical C segment, if I may, but you can enjoy a boot capacity which you would traditionally find in much larger minivans. Or, as an alternative, you can also add a third row of seats, which makes 500 Living the most compact 7-seaters in the market. Well, as you can see on the picture, it's totally up to you how to enjoy all that space. Now, it's an opinion, but I really do think that for a compact car today, space is a real richness, a real differentiator, the real deal. Because interior space means freedom. We at Fiat are convinced that for the 500L Living, the sales opportunities are endless and the target very wide. But clearly, the core target will be families. And when you sell to families, roominess cannot be your only sales argument, because when you are a dad or a mom, safety is key. So more seriously, with a brand new car like this, you would expect some innovation on the technology side too. Good thing, we have it. Now your 500L Living also becomes running Wi-Fi hotspots thanks to the ultra-fast 4G technology on board. We have an exclusive international agreement with Vodafone, which ensures that everybody on board can stay connected wherever you drive, and even the kids can enjoy their online gaming. And last but not least, 500L Living is available with a state-of-the-art green engine. Actually, the best green engine. And it's not me saying this, but the International Engine of the Year 2013 jury. What makes it great, this engine, is the fact that it is CNG, which means low emissions, low running costs, and an extended driving range. And what makes it even better is that you have all this with a turbo twin-air engine, which also means performance. Well, today we've seen a lot of 500, so your question might be, will 500 become a brand on its own? A fair question, it might be, and the answer is no. Now, is the 500 family going to expand further within the Fiat brand? The answer is yes. And why would we do that? Because it's a matter of fact. Fact number one, 500 is a success. More than 1.1 million cars sold. It's in more than 100 countries in exactly 6 years. Fact number 2, 500 is global. It's probably the most global city car ever. Look at the slide. 80% of our sales are outside the domestic market. Take the UK. Not only is 500 a leader in its segment, but look at this. 500 outsells Mini in the UK. That's a fact as well. Fact number 3, 500 is green, the most sustainable car in the European marketplace, according to JATO. Fact number 4, 500 is a brand booster. In the US, last year, it turned Fiat into the fastest growing brand in the industry. I know the 56,000 units last year is not a huge number compared to our American brands, but trust me, for a first full year, it's a substantial achievement. And let me put it this way, for other newcomers in the US like Kia and Mini, reaching that level took 5 to 7 years instead of 18 months for Fiat. And fact number 5, 500 never ages. So let me show you what I mean. This is a European market share for 500 over the last 6 years. As you can see, there is practically no decay, not to mention even a slight growth this year. It's like 500 has taken the gravity out of the traditional product life cycle. Now, the blue line represents what the market share would have been if it had followed the traditional life cycle curve of an average A-segment model. So the gap between the two curves is what I call the 500 effect. And as you can see, the 500 effect is worth 100,000 cars. That's a lot. Well, 500, Fiat 500, in a nutshell, successful, global, green, explosive, ageless. I know, to many of you, this may sound a little bit incredible, if not even magical, but again, these are facts, and facts belong not to magic, but to logic. And on the other hand, the magic of our icon has contaminated everything it has touched since the launch. Music, culture, fashion, art, and even toys. But as I said before, the best is yet to come. So for us, building the future is not a matter of dreaming. I can assure you, trust me, it's about doing. Under those covers are not just daydreams. There are real cars. And please, don't look at the covers as just another placeholder or a teaser. This is our commitment that very soon there will be some new 500s to uncover together. And that will happen in the very near future. Well, one very last thing for today. Not a new car yet, but just a personal consideration. As we design tomorrow's Fiat, we do listen, read, and learn about what is said, written, and voiced about us. So now what we have to do is face it, embrace it, and build from there. Because you will see a little document, but when it comes to Fiat, there is no shortage of opinions, whether you read the blogs or you quote the customer survey. So let's dive into a summary of the conversations that are going on.
A difficult choice. Functional on the one hand, aspirational on the other.
It's not possible to have both things at once.
Fiat is showing that it's just a simple, good value for money brand.
It will never be outstanding and premium like its flagship.
500 has a unique personality. It has fun inside. It's kind of magic.
Fiat as a brand is functionality.
Look at the word, functionality. It lacks appeal.
So nobody can say Fiat has the potential to turn this into a strength.
We know that being practical and logical is a problem for Fiat's perception.
It's not reasonable to think that tomorrow people will be willing to pay something more for a Fiat.
Well, let's freeze the image. Let's take it from here. What we have is not change the words. No, the words are these words. But what we have to change is a mindset. So let's reverse the flow. I'm going to read it again, but bottom up. tomorrow people will be willing to pay something more for a Fiat. It's not reasonable to think that being practical and logical is a problem for Fiat's perception. We know that Fiat has the potential to turn this into a strength, so nobody can say it lacks appeal. Look at the word functionality. It has fun inside. It's kind of magic. Fiat, as a brand, is functionality, has a unique personality, outstanding and premium, like its flagship 500. It will never be just a simple, good value for money brand. Fiat is showing that it is possible to have both things at once. Functional on the one hand, aspirational on the other. It is not a difficult choice. So, thank you. This is all for today.